Hi folks, I'm Kally and welcome to Kally Explains. This is where I break down complex tech into simple, plain terms. And today we're talking about something millions of people do without even thinking twice. Posting children online. That's photos, that's videos, it could be birthday posts, maybe some school moments, some funny clips, maybe some family days out. Now, if you haven't seen it, there's an Irish data protection campaign built around the message, pause before you post. This warns people to think carefully about sharing pictures or videos because of the privacy rights involved. Now, that then leads to the bigger question at the center of this video. Should we be asking our kids, our nieces, our nephews for consent before we post them online? Because what feels harmless to adults may not feel harmless to children, and often what feels private often isn't. Once something goes online, it can be copied, screenshotted, saved, forwarded, edited, reposted, and stored far beyond the audience you originally had in mind. UNICEF warns that sharing can affect a child's privacy and that adults should think carefully about what they share on a child's behalf. So in this video, I want to break down what sharenting is, why people are increasingly worried about it, what the real risks are, and why this debate is getting bigger as AI, social media, and online safety all collide. Because this just isn't a parenting issue anymore. It's now a digital rights issue. What is Sharenting? So what does Sharenting even mean? Well, Sharenting is a mixture of the words sharing and parenting. It means parents, guardians, or family members sharing content about children online. That content can be photos, it can be videos, it could be names, it could be birthdays, it could be school uniforms, it could be locations, it could be medical details, it could be family routines, it could even be a personal story or two. A lot of people hear the word Sharenting and think, oh, it just means parents posting cute pictures of their kids online. But really, it means building a child's digital footprint for them before they're even old enough to understand what that is. The Children's Commission for England found that parents with children aged 0 to 13 share on average 71 photos and 29 videos of their child every single year on social media, with even more shared on private messaging apps. So before many children are old enough to understand privacy, identity, or consent, their online presence is already being built up by other people. And that is the heart of this whole conversation. Just a quick one, if you're liking the video so far, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more plain, simple technical breakdowns. Now let's get back to it. So why does this matter now? So this debate has got much bigger because the internet has changed. Years ago, people mostly thought of posting family pictures as harmless. But now the risks are different. Images can be copied, they can be saved, they can be shared outside of your network, they can be used to identify routines or locations, they can be edited with AI and turned into manipulated or fake content. UNICEF's guidance on Sharenting says parents should protect their child's privacy, respect their views, and teach lessons about consent when sharing online. UNICEF and Child Online Protection Guidance also warns that Sharenting can violate a child's privacy and create longer term risks. So this is no longer just a conversation about family photos, it's about privacy, data, consent, and control. What does the risk really look like? So what makes this topic so important is that the risk is not always so dramatic. Often it's ordinary. One post reveals a birthday, another reveals a school logo, another reveals a hobby, another reveals a regular location, another reveals family names, another reveals who picks them up and when. Each one might seem harmless on its own, but together they can build up a profile. The Children's Commissioner specifically warns that parents often share more than they realise and that some are sharing with people they do not even really know. The same research warns about the amount of information children accumulate online before they can make those choices for themselves. That is why this matters, because online little details stack up. AI changes the risk. Now let's add AI into the mix. And this is where the conversation now gets very serious. Because now it's not just about someone seeing a picture, it's also about what can be done with that picture. Images can be saved, they can be downloaded, they can be cleaned up, edited, face matched. They can be reused in fake content or altered using AI tools. You just have to look at what Grok did. That's the Twitter AI tool. Someone can take a normal photo, change the background, manipulate the image, or use it in ways you never intended. That doesn't mean that every image will be abused, but it does mean that the environment around online images has changed massively. UNICEF and Child Online Protection Guidance both warn that Sharenting can expose children to privacy violations, exploitation risks, and misuse of their personal data. So a harmless post no longer exists in a harmless system. The consent question. Now, this is the part I think we need to talk more about. Should children get a say before they're posted online? Now, obviously, babies and toddlers, they can't give meaningful consent. But what about older children? What about teenagers? What about nieces and nephews who are old enough to have opinions? That feels different. UNICEF Sharenting Guidance says adults should think about protecting privacy, respecting children's views, and teaching them about consent. So maybe the better question is not, am I allowed to post it? Maybe the better questions are, would they want this online? Would they be okay with this in 5 years' time? Would they want their classmates seeing this? Would they want strangers seeing this? Because childhood used to fade, now it can be archived. The real cases that change the conversation. So a big reason people are taking this more seriously is because of real world cases involving children and online content. One of the most high profile examples is Ruby Frank, the parenting YouTuber who was sentenced in 2024 for up to 30 years in prison for physically and emotionally abusing her children. Now, to be clear, most parents posting photos of their children are not abusing their kids. That is not what I'm saying. But cases like this change the public conversation. They push people to ask the difficult questions like, at what point does sharing become exposure? At what point does documenting become exploiting? And at what point do children deserve more control over their own identity? So while Sharenting itself isn't automatically abuse, the wider conversation around children being turned into content has definitely become more serious. Tips to stay safe online. Now this part is important because this video is not about parent shaming. It's about helping people make smarter, safer choices online. So here are some real practical ways that you can reduce the risk. Don't put school logos, house numbers, street signs, or routine-based details online. The Children's Commissioner warns that posts can reveal more personal information than parents realise. Don't combine full names, birthdays, and identifiable places in the same post. Avoid posting embarrassing, emotional, medical, or highly personal moments. UNICEF explicitly links Sharenting to privacy and dignity concerns. Ask older children whether they actually want something posted. Use tighter privacy settings, but remember that private does not fully mean private. If people can still screenshot, save, and forward your posts. And the Children's Commissioner found that many parents also share with people that they don't really know. And finally, and this is the big one, remember that people can save and edit images with AI. Once a photo is online, you don't control whether someone downloads it, alters it, crops it, reuses it, or turns it into something else. So the simple rule is this: if the post means more to you than it protects them, don't post it. Why this matters beyond Sharenting. And this is why I think Sharenting is just part of the bigger conversation, because it leads into how social media affects children, how algorithms shape what kids see, whether age checks should be tougher, whether some online spaces should be treated more like adult products, and how digital platforms are shaping behavior, identity, and debate. And that's where this channel's going next, because these are not just tech stories, these are real life stories. So before we close, I'll leave you with the question again. Should we be asking our kids, nieces, and nephews for consent before we post them online? Not just because it's polite, not just because it's thoughtful, but because in a digital world, posting someone is also creating data about them. And maybe children deserve more of a say in that than we've been giving them. So if you found these useful, subscribe to Kally Explains, where I explain complex tech in simple terms. And next up, we're going deeper into social media, kids, algorithms, and the wider impact this is having on society. Thank you for watching, and this has been Kally Explains.